closest in my circle? Who the one who be the snakes? Who gon' fold up under pressure? Who gon' understand the stakes? Who gon' wait to get their food to try to take from off my plate? Who the love? Who gon' understand I'm hurt? Who gon' love me unconditionally and try to make it work? Who gon' party once I'm gone and shed a tear once I'm in dirt? I ain't asking for too much, I'm trying to understand my work.
Welcome to the next episode of Give Me My Crown podcast.
Give Me My Crown podcast.
We back at you with another episode. Again, my name is Antonio.
My name's Keith.
And we bringing you kind of a, I wouldn't say a different type, it's more of a, would you say, how would you name it? Would you say controversial?
I would say if you know, you know.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Everybody don't know. So it's controversial. It does have facts to back this theory.
Yes, and it's not controversial as in the fact that it's not like some cancel culture type controversial stuff.
No.
It's we were talking about the book Creature from Jekyll Island and kind of worldly stuff that's going on right now. And you want to kind of explain what Creature from Jekyll Island?
Hold on though. When you think about world stuff that's going on right now, that book kind of is talking about today as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
100%. And just a side note, I did get a recommendation from this book by watching a YouTube video from Wall Street Trapper. Shout out Wall Street Trapper.
Shout out Trap.
He actually mentioned his book and said it was a great read and recommended it. So I was like, let me go see what it's about. And after reading this book, like, it opened your eyes so much.
And you kept mentioning it. I'm like, man, let me finally listen to this book. The book here, I listened to it. It hit me within the first 5 minutes.
Yes.
You know.
And the book is really, in a nutshell, about the Federal Reserve.
Yes, the Federal Reserve. How I got founded, how I got started. 1910?
It was, let's see, 1910.
Yeah, man.
And the way it got started is it was 6 families who made up essentially about a quarter of the world's wealth. So roughly about 25% of the world's wealth.
That's being modest. It could have been more at the time.
And that's from 6 people. 6
people.
And what they did, they went to an island off of Georgia.
Yep.
And there was a club called Jekyll Island Club or something. And it was called Jekyll Island Club. And they went there and essentially formed the Federal Reserve. And those 6 men were, got some notes here, Nelson Aldrich, Piot Andrew, Henry Davison, Arthur Shelton, Frank Vanderlip, and Paul Warburg. And like I said, those 6 families started the Federal Reserve and essentially run it today as we know, because what most people don't know, the Federal Reserve is not a government system.
Got goosebumps you just said, I ain't gonna lie. Like, they legitimately run the world in a sense, though.
Yes.
Because the Federal Reserve does not only lend the United States government money, it lends all countries money.
Yep. And it talks, and like you said, it's not, contrary to what many people think, is not a government.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve is not ran by the government. It's privately ran. And it really benefits those 6 people rather than the people.
Yeah, because what people don't understand,
or those 6 families,
when they raise the interest rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's saying this is the interest rate we're getting back on the return of money we lended out.
Yes.
So if they raised it from 5.2 to 6, they just now made 0.8% more on the money they're going to loan out to people.
Yep.
It's essentially what banks do. This book also breaks down the banks.
Yep.
It breaks down how so we got Democrats and Republicans, right? In theory, they're all working together to make stuff happen. Maybe some would say not for the American people. Some would say for the American people. But these parties are actually working together with the Federal Reserve to make stuff happen.
And it does, the book does talk about how big banks won't fail.
Exactly.
Because if you look at certain banks that have been hit with fraud multiple times, they still one of the biggest banks in the world, the United States. But you put those same factors in a smaller bank, such as a credit union or
Oh,
something
they
like that,
fell. They
it
fell.
would have been done.
Okay, I watched it. The hearings with Signature Bank and stuff were
Yes.
failing. One thing I saw was that I forget the woman's name. She said certain banks will not fail.
Yes.
And what I can name 2 banks I know it won't fail. 3. Bank of America will never
Yep.
fail. Citibank will never fail,
Yes.
and J.P. Morgan will never fail.
Yes.
Those 3 banks will never fail. All right,
I think you throw a few more in there too.
like Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah,
Um,
they got pending lawsuits. They paying out billions of dollars, but
yes.
we don't ever hear about them failing. You know,
Yes. So yeah.
I mean, they never fail.
So the like I said, the Federal Reserve. The reason it was started was essentially to loan money out.
Yep.
And it's as you stated, every time they raise the interest rate, obviously they're making money.
Correct.
And it also goes on to state how if the U.S. was actually slated to pay off all our national debt. Like apparently we were slated to pay off all our national debt in 2012. Apparently we had the money or whatever, but we were able to pay off our national debt in 2012. But it said that if we pay off that national debt, then it would essentially send the economy into disaster.
True. Because people forget there's such thing as good debt and bad debt,
Yes.
right? If the United States was to call in everybody that owed them money, right,
Yes.
we would have no national debt.
Yep.
Countries owe us money going back to we went to war. We went to war with Japan.
Yep.
Then we rebuilt Japan,
Yep.
and they still paid us back.
Yep. And the problem is if they pay off all their debt, the Federal Reserve doesn't have they don't have a reason to exist at that point because they don't have anybody to lend money to, even though they lend money to other countries across the world. But at that point, if the U.S. does not need money, there's no need for them to print money, and by them printing money, of course comes in then that invisible tax, inflation.
Another question, man. Some people may not know this. What's the U.S. dollar backed off of?
What is it?
I'm asking. What is it?
It used to be backed off gold.
My theory is our military. We got one of the strongest militaries in the world. People ain't gonna mess with us, even though our money is.
That's true.
As the Chinese, our prime minister said,
that's true.
We sending them toilet paper instead of sending them real money that has real value.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it used to be backed off the gold standard. When they took it off the gold standard, the value of $1 now is what, like it's like 90% less than what it was.
What? Okay, question. Another question. But I'm gonna give an answer to. Like when you think about it, like what we're doing now, is just print more money. Since we took it off of gold, inflation has risen and never went back down.
Yes, I mean, yeah, because it fluctuates, but it's never. We will never see the value of the dollar as we did years and years and years ago.
Like today, where gas is $1.77 at Sheets, you got lines and lines of people out there to get that $1.77 gas.
Exactly.
For one day.
Yes, for one day. That's it.
And we got so much oil as a country, we won't use it.
They said we got so much oil as a country, we can operate thousands of years.
Yeah.
Just off the oil that's in reserve here.
Yeah. And then we got the big reserve in the Midwest that we will not drill.
Yep.
So it's a weird.
It's crazy.
Time. Yeah.
But they do say the Federal Reserve is for their own interests and not the interest of the public. Yes. And as you can see when they raise the interest rate, you can see that.
And the FDIC, they work with them too.
Yes.
So it's like a big revolving door. And if you think about how the banks leverage money, right? So let's say, for instance, me as a person, if I did what the banks do, I would go to jail.
Oh yeah.
Because basically, essentially, what a bank does is they leverage 300 to 1. So which means if Tonyo, you come in and you put your money in the bank now gives me his money to spend. I put my money in the bank, they're giving it to somebody else to spend. Yeah. And
then they're charging you interest on my money.
Yeah.
Instead of giving me, because essentially if if the banks operated in a sense that people think it does,
Yeah.
if you go put $1,000 in the savings and then, or let's use a bigger number, let's say 20,000. I go put $20,000 in the savings. If I go do it today and I go back to the bank 3 hours later, I need to withdraw $20,000. They're gonna tell me you need to give us a 3-day notice.
Yep.
They're gonna be like, we don't have that kind of capital in hand. I'd be like, I just gave you money.
Yep.
2 hours ago. Like, what do you mean? And then, so essentially, what they're gonna do, they're gonna take that 20,000. They're gonna lend some to you.
Yep.
Lend some to over here. Lend some over here. So if they lent out that $20,000, they gave $5,000 to 4 different people.
Yep.
And they're charging 7-8% interest rate. They're making that money back to the bank, and they're giving me a 0.5%.
Yep.
So off of that $20,000, I'm making $2, while they're making off $5,000. They're making if let's say they're doing 10%. Off that $5,000, I'm making $500.
Yep.
And I'm making 20.
Yep.
So that's 500 times 4. They're making $2,000 off of my money, and their money is, or either that, or they're taking my money and investing it.
And then if you put your money in the bank, and say put in a savings account, they give you a point of a percentage.
Yes.
And they making more money off your money. Like you said, they invest your money.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And it's like it's crazy, but because they say, and I think you can use the same analogy for the banks as you can with Creature of Jekyll Island or Federal Reserve. They say the Federal Reserve essentially is ran like a cartel.
It is.
Because they are, if you look at what somebody like the Mexican cartels, you look at how they operate, then look at the Federal Reserve. It's like you said, they're making all this money, and they're making the money from the American people.
Yep.
But it's not used for the American people. All the money they're making is benefiting those 6 families.
And I'm interested to see that you're gonna say I'm going too far with this theory. How Fed now ties into all of this.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think because it's going to be something.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I definitely think we will see. I think we'll see negative sides to Fed now.
Yeah.
There might be some good aspects to it, but there's always going to be those underlying negative aspects that nobody sees.
Yep.
So I think that's definitely something we need to look out for. And also, if you look at Federal Reserve encourages war.
It does, because they make money off of war.
Yes.
Countries need to take out loans for wars. Yeah.
Because book talks about how the Federal Reserve System funded World War I, World War II.
Yep.
What was it? The Korean War and the Vietnam War.
Yep.
So I think you need the reason
they funded the war with Ukraine.
Yes. Exactly.
Like, we as American people, we had to raise our debt.
Yes.
For the $80 billion we gave Ukraine.
Yep.
We need to go back to the Federal Reserve to ask them for more, to print more money.
Yes. And even the book even goes into detail about how if it was not for the Federal Reserve, a lot of these wars may have not even happened, or they would essentially create conflict between countries in order to step in and fund it.
And the funny part is, okay, if I print money, right?
Yeah.
That's counterfeiting, right?
Yes.
Why is that counterfeiting?
Exactly.
Because I do not work for the United States government.
Yes.
They do not work for the United States government, but they print money.
Exactly.
So which means they're counterfeiting money.
They're a private company printing all this money.
Yep. When you know, you know. That's why I say when you know, you know.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's that like I said, that book definitely opens up your eyes.
Yeah.
And like I said, what got the part that got me is when, like I said, when they're talking about how if we pay off our national, because everybody's like, oh, we're so much in national debt, we're so much in national debt, and with every president, obviously it continues to go up, and a lot of people blame the president, blame whoever, and obviously they have something to do with some of the stuff they're making, but like I said, if we pay it off, then obviously it sends our economy into disaster.
Exactly.
So it's something that'll never happen. And if, like you said, if it does happen, then I think at that point we better prepare.
You think about it, man. Talking about bailouts, right?
Yes.
That's in the book too.
Yeah.
We bail out these big companies. We bail out
Yes.
banks. You know.
Yes.
2007, 2008,
2008.
2008, right? We gave these banks billions of dollars.
Yep. Because if you look at some of these banks from 2008, like if these banks were for the people, the federal government would have shut these banks down.
Exactly.
Because they're essentially loaning people money to foreclose on the house. They know you can't afford to pay for this house, but essentially they're saying, you know what? Here's a loan for $500,000. We know, looking on paper, you can only afford $300,000, but we're going to give you $500,000.
Yep.
We're going to raise the interest rate so you know you can't pay it, and when you miss those 3 payments, then we're going to start foreclosure paperwork on your house. So, what they were doing, they were sending for these houses, because obviously the houses were getting overappraised.
Yep.
The banks were working with appraisers to send appraisers out that's gonna overappraise on the house, knowing that that's not what the house is worth. Because I don't know if the appraisers are getting kickbacks or what the deal was, but they're appraising the house way over value. Yep. So the bank is then able to fund that loan to people who can't afford the loan, that can't afford to pay it back. Now they're foreclosing. Now the bank owns half the United States.
Half the United States. And like this is even during the pandemic, right before the pandemic, before interest rates fell.
Yes.
You look, JP Morgan was buying properties.
Yep.
Like, why does the bank need to be buying all this real estate?
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at some of these programs now, there is almost like, I guess without getting into too much detail, it's almost like it's like if you look at the program from the outside, it's almost like the bank is slowly coming in trying to take over these neighborhoods again, because you got these banks offering certain interest rate or certain programs, but to get this program, you got to live in a certain neighborhood. Yep. And you got to make this amount of money, and like it's all these parameters they put in place, and the amount of money you got to make is almost is borderline like barely making it.
But the book talks about how it seems as if those programs are for the people.
Exactly, and they're not.
They're not.
Because if I'm telling you, hey, I'm gonna give you money for a down payment, I'm gonna give you assistance for any upfront costs, I'm gonna give you this loan, but you gotta live here.
Yeah.
And essentially, to me, what that's saying the bank is doing, they're putting everybody in these neighborhoods that they can afford at the time, but like I said, it's so borderline of what your income has to be, that essentially if you lose hours at work, then you're already under and can't afford that payment. So now the bank owns all these houses in these low income neighborhoods.
But not just low income neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Because we went through this, right? So I'm like, I'm trying to get no down payment. So I'm gonna use this program. He's like, you don't qualify for that.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, nah, bro, it's no down payment. I'm gonna use this program. He's like, nah, it's a certain cap you have to make for this program. And he was like, if you did, you can afford this house.
Exactly, because it's certain programs, like let's use, for example, they say, all right, you can only make $80,000.
Yep.
But you're trying to buy a $500,000 house. They'd be like, yeah,
we're talking about the same program. I know you at. Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, we'll approve you, but you like, hold on, if I make $80,000, I can't afford a $500,000 house anyway.
Yep.
Like, especially if it's just me and I'm just making $80,000, I'm like, all right, if I buy this $500,000 house, I'm house poor.
Yep.
Like, I had no money for a car payment. I had no money for any other.
You got no money for food, man. No, you got no money for food.
Because if you think about it, if you make $80,000, then your take home is what, 50?
Because what's the rule of thumb? You can only buy a house 3 times your income or something like that.
It's like they like you to stay under 30, I think it's 28 to 35% debt to income ratio.
Yeah, but I'm like, this is wild.
Yes, and it's crazy. There's a lot of programs out there like that essentially put that cap on it. But then when you break down the numbers and look at it, you be like, well, if I do that, then I can't afford to live
Yep.
anyway.
Yep. And the bank will give you a loan knowing that you're going to default on.
Yes. Yes. 100%. And that goes for a bunch of other programs that seem like they're for the people, but they're not. They actually help the economy.
Yep.
If you look at a bunch of the government welfare programs, they're on the front end. It looks like it's for the people, but then if you break it down and look at it, you like, wow.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna take all the backlash. This is not a Antonio view. Welfare is the modern day slavery.
I agree. It's because I think
They give you somewhere to live.
Yes.
They tell you to kick the man out the home.
Yep.
They tell you how much money you can make.
Yes. And it puts people in a mindset where all right, like it makes you not want to prosper because you're like, all right, I'm barely living, but I'm living just enough where I can't
advance.
It essentially hinders advancement.
Yep.
Because people look at it like, all right, well, if I do this, then I can't do this.
Yep.
Or if I make an extra $2 an hour, they're gonna take this much in food stamps.
Yep.
And I think because obviously I think welfare is a good program for certain people who need it.
It needs to be revamped.
Yeah, I think it needs to be revamped, and I think it needs to be more like I said, more for the people and not the government, because it is, like you said, it's essentially killing the home.
Yep.
Like you said, it's taking the man out the home. It's hindering how much money you can make. And then I think that same mindset gets pushed down through generations.
Yep.
Where that's why you see same generational habits.
Like I've known people like 3 and 4 generations on welfare.
Yep. And it's almost like they don't want to advance.
They feel like it's free.
Yes. So I definitely think it has to be revamped to actually help the people, because obviously I want to see all people win.
Yes.
Like there's enough money in this world for everybody to make money.
Yep.
But then you got the government coming in like, hold on.
We don't want everybody to make money.
Like you make too much money now. You can't do that.
Example, crypto.
Yes. You see
all these new millionaires popped up.
And then the government steps in.
What are we doing with crypto right now?
Exactly.
And we want that out the U.S.
Yes. We want it out the U.S. and we want to regulate any crypto.
If you think about other countries looking like China, you know what I'm saying? I know we got the BRICS going on, but you got all these other countries, they're like, yo, bring it here. We'll take it.
And then every company that's essentially a crypto
exchange,
I guess a crypto exchange, the government is suing them.
Like Coinbase, like
Binance.
It's just crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think as a people we have to get out the mindset and like eventually you just gotta step out and just do it. Like don't worry about, like I said, if your welfare gets cut down or taken from you, at that point you're winning. And the government will do what they can to bring you to bring you back into that mindset.
Like I've seen people, they can get a job, right? And they'll say, nah, I can't work this job. They're gonna take my food.
Yeah, like I'm making too much money.
Like I'd rather make money and provide for myself than be thinking about some food stamps.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. The government should give everybody food stamps, in my opinion. Like everybody should get a certain amount. Like people want free health care. I want free food stamps. I'm just saying, you know.
But yeah, I think like I said, like you said, I think that mindset, like on the front end, it looks good. Like, okay, I'm getting this free, free. I'm getting free food, getting somewhere free to live. I'm getting this. But in the long run, it hurts us and it hinders us as a nation and as a people.
And if you think about it, like another big player, government, right? They talk about in the book too, was student debt, like education.
Yes.
Like the book is amazing because it goes into so many different layers of how the government makes money off of its people.
Yep, because student debt is designed for you to never pay off.
Exactly.
Unless you, like I said, unless you get assistance from the military or you use one of these programs where, all right, if you make this amount of payments, then if you make this amount of payments and never late, then we'll erase the rest of your student debt. And I think like if you look at it in that sense, like okay, but some of these programs, some of these student loans, people are paying
20 years after they get out of
20
school,
years,
like,
$1,000 a month,
yeah.
and you got $100,000 loan.
Think about being a doctor, right?
Yes.
You got to take out all this money in loans to finish school.
Yep.
Then you finish school, and for the next 30 years,
You paying those
loans back.
Yep.
That's retarded.
Yes. That's why scholarships is the way to go.
Yes, scholarships, yep, grants, any way you can get it free, get it free.
Yep.
Even going to a community college the first 2 years.
Yep. Because you're going to pay a fraction of the price.
Exactly.
Get that associate's degree, and whether it's nursing school or whatever, get that associate's degree, get accepted into nursing school, and then go to nursing school. Because, shoot, a 2-year college nowadays will run you $20,000, $30,000 depending on where you go.
And people sleep on trades too, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, trades, you can make a lot of money getting a trade.
Yes. But yeah, I think, like I said, we need to, if people actually sat back and looked at some of the stuff or how the government is ran, I think it will open up eyes.
Yeah, like, and then we ain't gonna jump into certain topics, but we could throw out names like Lyndon B. Johnson, you know. But we ain't gonna do it. We're not gonna do it today. We're not gonna do it. I'm not gonna go there. I don't want the American people to get too upset, you know.
I mean, that's something we can build into.
Okay, now I don't know if we're gonna go there.
Yeah, you're right.
Like we both got too much going on in life to even jump in there.
But I just think, like I said, knowledge is power.
It is, man. And when you get the knowledge, like you use it.
Yes. Yes. And like I said, I think we would be remiss if we didn't give at least some of the knowledge. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff we can't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some stuff, like just scratching the surface of it, like somebody may watch this podcast and be like, yo, is that true? And they may go do their own research and be like, oh shoot, like this is true.
Like I say this all the time. I mean, I can say it freely. I say it all the time. If you look at every Fortune 500 company in America, it's built like a pyramid.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree.
So why a pyramid scheme's bad if we created one?
I agree.
I'm just saying, like when you look at things with an open view, open lens, you see it totally different. Like,
that's 100% true.
Yeah.
But I think we gave out.
Yeah,
like I said,
we can't go too much further.
We kind of just scratched the surface, but it's a lot of information. Like I would tell y'all, read the book "Creature from Jekyll Island."
Yes. And
then do your research, and like I said, it will definitely open your eyes.
Boy, have your eyes wide open.
Yes. And a lot of like I said, a lot of the stuff that they talk about in the book some could see it as controversial. Even some of the stuff we said, some people could see it as controversial, but I think it's something you gotta once you do your research, you'll be like, okay, it's not necessarily controversial. It's just the way that certain people want you to think, and then you start thinking that way, and it completely hinders your mindset, and it almost makes you think as people are taking shots when they're not. They're just like
giving facts.
Like I never noticed that.
Yeah, like I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna take a shot. I was gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
But I think we gave a lot of good information. We scratched the surface on a few different topics, but it was all under the umbrella of
world topics,
government, Federal Reserve System, things like that. But as we always say, this is more than a podcast. We're handing out crowns, and this one we just try to give y'all. We tried to, throw out a few crowns, give y'all just some knowledge.
That's right, man. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge, 100%.
That's right. Now use it and apply it.
Yeah, you got to apply it in order for it to and look it up, do your research in order for it to make sense.
Yes, always.
So like we say, it's more than a podcast. We handing out crowns.
Hand them out.
Who the realest in my circle? Who the one who be the snakes? Who gon' fold up under pressure? Who gon' understand the stakes? Who gon' wait to get they food to try to take from off my plate? Who the love? Who gon' understand I'm hurt? Who gon' love me unconditionally and try to make it work? Who gon' party once I'm gone and shed a tear once I'm in dirt? I ain't asking for too much, I'm trying to understand.